ready, Dan?
Recording in progress.
Okay, good morning. We will call to order the Douglas County Board of Commissioners meeting. For the record. There's an copy of the Open Meetings Act here on the north wall of the legislative chambers. And in the back, in case for health reasons, there's an automatic defibrillator. We'd like to ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
With that, we will call to order the Douglas County Board of Equalization meeting. Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Borgeson is absent. Commissioner Boyle? Here. Commissioner Kavanaugh? Commissioner Friend? Here. Commissioner Garcia? Here. Commissioner Morgan? Here. Mr. Chair.
Here, item A is approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Item B, call for a meeting and set Tuesday, September 27th, 2002 as the date for hearing on certified assessments and corrections. What's the will of the board?
Move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Morgan, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Boyle. Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Item C is citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to comment on Board of Equalization related items not listed on the agenda. Are there any citizens' comments for the Board of Equalization?
No, sorry.
Okay. Any citizens' comments on the Board of Equalization that is not listed on the agenda? Seeing none, we have items D and E. Is there a motion to approve items D and E and adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Boyle, second by Commissioner Morgan. Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
We'll now call to order the Douglas County Board of Commissioners meeting. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Borgeson is absent. Commissioner Boyle? Here. Commissioner Kavanaugh? Here. Commissioner Friend? Here. Commissioner Garcia? Here. Commissioner Morgan? Here. Mr. Chair.
Here. Item 1 is minutes and claims. Letter A is approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Item B is approval of claims submitted for payment and processed through Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. What's the will of the board?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Morgan. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Boyle. Seeing no questions, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Item 2 is the consent agenda. There's 7 items on the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Morgan. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Friend. Any questions? Consent agenda. Commissioner Boyle.
I would like to look at item E on the agenda. The Douglas County Engineers Office requests approval of the following: to study the vacation of Rainwood Road between approximately 84th Street and Lake Cunningham in Douglas County. I would like just more information about that. So
You want to pull it or you got questions?
I'd like to pull it, actually.
Okay, so no to the clerk. Okay. Commissioner Friend?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a great question by Commissioner Boyle. I've actually had a chance to look at this issue. I wouldn't say in depth, but from a cursory standpoint, and then I dug into it a little bit more. Let me try to throw out. I didn't bring a lot of documents and I didn't bring a lot of information, but I can explain a little bit what that road looks like, and I'll be as brief as I possibly can. On 84th Street, when you look at Lake Cunningham and all the changes that have gone on up there, there are a few private residences back going all the way to the lake, and Rainwood Road from 84th all the way to the lake essentially is it's a county maintained road, but it's desolate and it's a road to nowhere. It's a dead end. So it essentially goes up to the lake, curves around, and there's a little cul-de-sac There are private residences up to the north of where Rainwood Road is, but the bottom line is, it's I wouldn't call it a money pit, but it's stuff that I don't think the county, in my personal opinion, should be maintaining. We're vacating that road because there have been issues, evidently, in the past where you'll get young kids driving down there, people there when the park is actually closed. They'll actually take Rainwood from 84th down there. The sheriff's department has difficulty actually tracking some of that down. There is no way out, so you can block people in. But the bottom line is, it's maintained by the county now, and in a lot of different ways, it probably doesn't need to be. This road, like I said, is a dead end going right up to the lake. It's not very well maintained now, and the residents in that area, there's probably 3 or 4, are ostensibly saying, we'll maintain it. Now, that could mean gravel, it could mean oil, it could mean all kinds of other things. But again, if this was, I use an analogy, if this was 180th Street at 100 or State Street, I'd go, no, the growth is happening here. There's no growth going on back in this area. So that was longer than I thought I would go, but I'm kind of going off on a diatribe. It is a good question. They're vacating the road because the county doesn't think that we have to maintain it anymore, and the residents in that area will. And like I said, it's a road to nowhere. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Commissioner Boyle.
Yep, so the questions I had were, does it limit access to the lake at all?
Oh, great.
And number 2, does it decrease, for example, parking or something like that? So I don't want any citizens
Right.
who use the park for recreational purposes to be inhibited as a result of vacation of this road.
Can I answer?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great question, and I should have spoke to that. There are access points southwest. There are access points northeast. There are access points to the south. There are no access points off of Rainwood. You can't get into the lake. So what you'd have to do is walk through probably 200 to 300 yards of brome grass to get to the lake. So you'll have people walk through there. You have people park back in there and then go fishing, but it's not technically an access point. You can't pull a boat up there. You can't dock anything. You can't run anything into the lake. It's a dead end. There are cement blocks that stop you from going any further, and then there's trees and brush and everything else for about 200 yards. So this is not an access point to the lake, but there are 3 other access points. And over the last 4 years, as we all know, the changes at Cunningham have been significant, and those access points are available.
And then is it the county asking for this, or is it these private companies asking for this?
Oh, I think both. I actually got a chance to talk to Dan Kudelek, and they said, look, this is a road. He kind of said what I said. He said it's a road to nowhere. But there are citizens that live in private parcels up in there that agree with that. They'd rather just have it vacated.
So would the study be paid for by the county, or the study be paid for by these businesses?
I don't believe by the county, but we can double check that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's my qualm, is we shouldn't be paying for a study for something like that.
To the best of my knowledge, Commissioner Boyle, the answer is no, and I don't think I want to pay for a study either.
Okay.
So Commissioner Boyle, are you fine with keeping it on? It's just a study.
If we're not paying for it, I don't know if that needs to be qualified before I would approve it.
So we'll pull it then. Mr. Clerk, you.
Dan Ash, Douglas County Clerk, just to supplement what Commissioner Fred said. So there's a petition that got submitted to the clerk's office and the engineer's office. And the firm represents Centennial Farms and Wind River LLC, but there are about 3 pages worth of, looks like maybe close to 30 signatures from, this might take a little bit, but I'll try to be brief. So basically it's a petition to vacate - electors is the title, and it's addressed to the Board of Commissioners. We, the undersigned, representing 10 electors within 10 miles of the road proposed to be vacated or abandoned, hereby ask and petition that necessary action be taken to vacate Rainwood Road right away. Then they kind of give the legal description. Rainwood Road should be vacated because it is currently closed, since the redevelopment of Lake Cunningham access to Lake Cunningham is no longer authorized from Rainwood Road west of 84th Street. That portion of the road is now essentially a private road serving only Wind River and Centennial Farms and their tenants. We hereby respectively waive any and all damages or claims for damages by reason of said vacating. And then there's about 3 pages of signatures from people who addresses appear to be close to this road. So if that helps.
So, saying you want a week or you want to?
Yeah, like I said, still want to find out who's paying for this study.
Okay, so the clerk will pull item E, and we'll do that separate to layover week. You fine with that? Yep.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yes.
Again, so before we move, if anybody's going to comment on something on the consent agenda, this is your time now. We're about to vote. Sorry, Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Yeah, I'm just following up on a couple of Commissioner Boyle's concerns. I guess, because I do use that lake, and I'm always struck by the fact that there's way more fishermen than there are sailboat people or whatever on that lake. And fishing access is a big thing. And I see people at exactly that point fishing all the time. So this is a point that's come up before at the Natural Resource District level, because they developed this relative to the restriction of public access to this publicly financed and publicly maintained lake. And it might be a good idea if we, reached out to the NRD people. I don't know what jurisdiction they might have over this. I know that they developed the lake, and I think they are responsible for maintaining it. Just, informational stuff that we can probably get in the next week, but those are kind of concerns that I would have. Because there have been residents on portions of this lake who have tried to get the public access closed off as if the lake was theirs, and it's not. So those are kind of questions that I think that maybe, Commissioner Friend, you can direct me here, would be best directed to Dan Kudelek and the people at the engineer's office who entertained this originally. Is that right?
Oh, you go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Commissioner Kavanaugh, I don't know. You weren't making value judgments here or anything else, so I don't want to put words in your mouth. But I'm not exactly sure I totally agree with you. I wanted to reiterate, there's no public access off of Rainwood. You can't get to Lake Cunningham on this road. Now that is, so I don't know if I'm answering your question. I'm open to making sure that we're not paying an inordinate amount for a study that I'm fine with that, and I haven't done enough of my due diligence to know what that amount is, and it's not even on here. But I would say that this is fraught with peril. You have a dark road, there is no lighting, and it's a dead end, and you have people going in there after 11 o'clock at night. This is not an entrance point to Lake Cunningham, and nobody that designed this believed that this was ever going to be. I have photos and I have information, and I've been back there. You can't get to this lake unless you trudge through. Now, we know how 18, 17-year-olds are. Somebody drives back there, they've got a 12-pack of beer, and they camp out there for 4 hours. Are there once in a while fishermen that trudge their way through there? Yeah, but there's no parking back there. And if they're there at a certain point in time, or frankly, any time, they're not trespassing, but that's not a point of access. I go up to Flanagan all the time. There are points of access just like at Cunningham all over the lake. I don't walk through other people's yards and trudge 100 yards through other property to get there. Now, What I would say is I'm open to all kinds of ideas and research, but I think Dan can clear up a little bit of stuff and would make us all feel a little bit better. But yeah, financially, I'm just want to make sure it's not going to be $50,000 out of our pocket just to vacate a road. I don't think that's necessary. I could walk up there right now, save us a lot of money, and say vacate it. I have. I've walked up there and I go, we need to vacate this. That's my study. I'm ready. Let's do it. But I don't mean to be trite. I understand your point. I'm not arguing with you. I just think we probably need to get a couple of items squared away. So that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda minus item E. Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
So I'd entertain a motion to lay over item E for a week. I take that a motion from Commissioner Boyle, second by Commissioner Morgan. When the clerk, let me know if you're ready, Mr. Clerk.
I'm ready.
Please vote.
Motion to lay over passes 6-0.
Item 3 is recognition and proclamations. Letter A is a resolution declaring September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Douglas County. There's no one on Zoom speaking to this, is it? Okay, assuming not, then is there a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Boyle, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Friend. Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Item 4 is citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to speak on board of commissioner-related items that are not listed on the agenda. Are there any citizens' comments at this time?
Larry Storer, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. Thank you. Going to be a rapid fire this morning. First of all, I want to go back to the Board of Equalization where it says citizen comments, and it does not say governance through Board of Equalization. It just says to be heard about the governance of Douglas County, but it's not on the agenda. But Mr. Rogers seemed to insert a word there that implied it had to be specifically related to Board of Equalization. If that's true, then they should amend that portion of the agenda to state that. Secondly, I sent a letter to you, all of you, last week after last week's meeting. Copy of it went to the City Council. I got no replies from absolutely no one, and I think that's good governance. Other people don't think so. So I want to restart my Constitution 101 business from maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And the primary Constitution 101 thing is we are a republic. And the Freedom of Speech Amendment 1 gives every citizen the right to petition their government. And the second thing is the Open Meetings Act. Many violations, I believe, of the intent of the Open Meetings Act. I've called many times for the Douglas County Attorney and the Nebraska Attorney General to come and debate that with you, because you apparently think, other than what we read the intent of that act as being and what I was told at a discussion with the Secretary of State. So let's put it on the agenda. I have addressed that a couple of times and again got no replies. Next, the speakers in here. Now, I don't have a problem hearing Mr. Friend. Did you notice that they did turn the microphone, Mr. Kavanaugh, over towards the direction that he was speaking? So we have a problem with the microphones or the speakers or the commissioners, because I have a heck of a time hearing Mr. Rogers and Maureen Boyle. And I've mentioned that a number of times, and I mean, can we not get that fixed? Thank you. You know, the Declaration of Independence said that when your government isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing, that it is your right, your duty to alter, change, replace that government, and reinstitute new government. Well, if it applies to the federal government, if your state and local governments are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, the implication is that it is your right and duty to do that also. So here we are coming up on some very important elections. And we citizens, we the people who are the electors according to the state constitution, would like to see some changes. One of the changes that a lot of us are growing in numbers about is a write-in candidacy to replace certain people onto the ballot in place of people that are not necessarily wanted, but they're put on there because of the parties. This group of people are not necessarily party oriented. And yes, it's political, but everything's political. So I'm not going to name that person, but I am going to submit something to you that covers a lot of what I just said. And this is a follow-up to the letter from last week, email, that I have not received any replies on. And it's time to maybe have some write-in candidates for the local government.
1 minute.
City Council and Douglas County Board.
1 minute.
People to write them out of office instead of writing them in. Maybe that would be a change in our Constitution for us to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Julian Young. I am the founder of Julian Young Business Advisors. First, would like to apologize. I wasn't here last week.
Put your address on record, Julie.
The address, 2928 Ames Avenue. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Want to apologize. I wasn't here last week to accept the ARPA award that was granted to our agency, but just wanted to come in this morning to express on behalf of my organization and the entrepreneurs and small business owners that we serve, how much we appreciate the award. The project we submitted was for a small business resiliency and recovery, which is designed to impact the small business owners that were hit the hardest by the pandemic. And our goal is to really try to help stabilize but also sustain up to 40 small businesses with the funds that were awarded. So would like to thank Commissioner Morgan for support and help as far as really just supporting the work that we've been doing in North Omaha, as well as Commissioner Rogers as well. And the support means a lot to us and we appreciate it. So I wanted to come down this morning just to thank you all for the great work that you are doing. Those ARPA funds are going to mean a lot to North Omaha. It's going to be very impactful to the small business owners we serve. And I just want to make sure I took some time to get here this morning to be present and personally thank every single person on the Douglas County Commissioners, but let you all know we really truly appreciate the award and it will go to good use. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Julie.
Yep.
Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll go to item number 7 under committee and discussion items. Letter A is the Finance Committee Budget Report, Commissioners Fran and Morgan. So as presented. We'll go now to letter G in Human Resources. Number 1 is the weekly personnel report from Civil Service that is as submitted. There's no legislative issues for this week. We'll go now to item 3, which is the approval of a resolution to replace the current range pay plan for non-union civil service covered employees with a step pay plan to correct inequities and prevent pay compression. Patrick, are you speaking on it? Okay. What's the will of the board to approve item 3? Motion by Commissioner Boyle, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes. Commissioner Kavanaugh is abstaining. All other commissioners voting yes.
Extension is based on the fact that I don't see a fiscal impact statement in this. I've looked into this a little bit, and there is a graph that comes with the request, but it doesn't indicate what the cost to the county taxpayers would be for this item, and without that, I'm disinclined to support it. I don't know if this would be $100,000 or $10 million. It would be good going forward if, when there are things that are going to cost the county money, this isn't the first one we've talked about on this agenda, or not, that it indicates it's going to cost this amount or not. It's not going to cost anything. That would be a good thing to have, just as a general rule of best practices in fiscal responsibility.
We'll go to item 4, which is the resolution expressing the county board's intent to utilize Sword Health for a virtual musculoskeletal physical therapy program for county employees.
Patrick Bloomingdale, County Administrator. We also have Colleen Frederickson from HR here to answer any questions. So as we talked about in HR committee, there's an opportunity here to provide virtual physical therapy for county employees. And I tested it out. We took solicitations from 2 companies, Sword and Hinge. I tested both of them. A couple of other of our employees tested the Hinge. I tested both Sword and Hinge. I like Sword a lot better. I think it's going to be fantastic for employees because when you go to a physical therapist, they'll give you the exercises you need to do, and you might go 2 or 3 times, and then you go home and then you do them on your own. And I have, as many issues as a lot of people, but I'm not always the best to do it on my own. So when you have this virtual assistant, so you have a tablet in front of you and you have these sensors put on your body where you have the issue that you need physical therapy, and then you have this tablet and you have this virtual assistant that helps you go through the exercises, and it monitors it. So for example, if you're doing a movement that makes you go to the left or the right, and then you have these stars, 5 stars, and as you go to the right, it says 1, 2, 3, highlights 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you get to 5 stars, you know you're doing it right. And then there is not only a virtual assistant, but there's also a real physical therapist who checks in with you, is able to monitor. When you wear the monitors, then he or she will know how are you doing with the exercises and checks in on you on a regular basis. And the cost is $1,000 per year per participant. We believe that it's going to pay for itself, certainly over time, if enough people use it, and I think they will, because like I said, I think it's just a fantastic service. If there are any questions?
Don't see any. Commissioner Boyle?
So you said cost again $1,000 per year per participant? Is that per employee?
No.
Okay.
Colleen Frederickson. It is per participant, so if you sign up for it, and then it is they're also guaranteeing that we would have less surgeries for musculoskeletal and less chiropractor bills. So they did put the fees on risk for us, a guarantee fee for that.
Okay.
So
okay.
If we have everybody in the county, only 3 people sign up, that's our cost, $3,000 for the year.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So it's
All right,
who signs up.
It's kind of abstract to kind of track that, but is it possible to track like how many people are prevented from surgery? Are they able to calculate those types of things?
They are supposed to. They guaranteed that prevented from surgery. Like instead of they would kind of, they would track it, I would think, if somebody said they had to go to surgery, and they look at all the options for that. They work together, I believe, with our current provider and just kind of work in connection with them, from what I understand.
So it's a matter of just making sure that we receive information back to make sure this is worth our expense. So I want to make sure we've got some type of metrics or whatever to make sure that it's worth our time and money to do it. So,
Right.
all right, that's it.
Right.
Thanks.
There is a motion, a second. Okay,
Motion.
yeah, or Commissioner Boyle, motion, second, and Commissioner Garcia. Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
We do have need for an executive session for the purposes of litigation and labor.
Yes. Yep, that's correct.
Alrighty, is there a motion to go into executive session for litigation and labor?
So moved.
There's a motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Boyle. Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Recording stopped.